Parramatta Eels, and fourth place last year, top four finish after their defeat to the Storm in the last regular game, and the grand finalists going down to just a supreme team in the Panthers, just that well-oiled machine once again that continues to win, even though we continue to try and write them off and say they're done. But they've been, as you mentioned earlier, they've been gutted. They've had some quality players leave the club. Have immediately come to mind, Papali'i and Marnie, to name a couple, and probably a couple of their fringe first graders who were so good in terms of whenever there was injuries to fill in a gap, talking about Neokora as such and Kafusi, who's now gone to the Sharks. Those players are so good when there was injuries to step up and do a job. Now, there's some good young talent coming through. They've signed some decent replacements. Like I'm optimistic about the Hodgson signing, but for mine, he just isn't a Reid Marnie. I think Marnie's now up to one of the supreme hookers in the game, so you can't replace that, unfortunately. Papali'i for mine's the best second row in the game, so losing him is huge. And I know Hopgood and I know Murchie are good players who, under Brad Arthur, can probably come into another level and get up to that level with the Eels, but you got to be realistic as well. I'm obviously a Para fan, and there is a slight concern. I think I'm sort of where you were a few weeks ago with the Storm, but I think a whole heap rests on the Moses re-signing. I think if he re-signs, that gives the players that momentum sort of to go, sweet, we're all in this sort of together, let's go again. If he jumps off ship in the next couple of weeks, I think that destroys it. And I think I would not be surprised if we actually missed the 8, to be honest. That's how big I think that could be. So where are you at with the Eels?
You actually summed up everything right to the point where you said they might miss the 8, because I don't want to admit to you, it's not where I'm leaning, but it has across my mind, because we do that maths every year. I think on average 2 to 3. I think we spoke about this in another part where two to three teams do miss it from the previous year. My biggest thing now, I really want to actually go back and watch some footage, because I think you do have the biggest swing factor in terms of playing the whole comp. And I've heard so good things about him, but I have not watched him enough. And I just want to know a bit more about your thoughts on Jermaine Hopgood, because would it be crazy to say he's a signing of the year? Because from what I've heard, he is, and from what I watched from the grand final being live, it's a bit hard to actually sit back and focus in on certain players. But I do have that game recorded, so I really need to watch. He's the one player I really want to watch some footage on. If there's anyone, it's him, because I think from what I've heard, from what the Panthers have said, from all these accolades he has been given and praise, it's hard to say that about a guy that's basically a rookie. But what are your thoughts on Hopgood?
I think he could be right up there for signing of the year. And I know Penrith were not happy losing him. They did not want to lose him, but the salary cap sort of bit them on the arse, so to speak. And as a fan, I really like him being in the side, and I know he can bring something a little bit different and a bit more of that mongrel and toughness that I think this side does crave. I think on a positive, you can't go away from the fact that we've still got probably one of the strongest forward packs in the comp. And I think Paulo and Campbell Gillard for a start, they're two of the better props in the game, if not probably both in the top 5 for mine. And they lay such a good platform. And then you can add to that Hopgood, Madison, when he's back from his suspension. Who knows what's happened with Nathan Brown at the moment, but even when he's on his day, he can be quite a good addition. But then you've got like Lane. Lane for mine had his best year to date last year. So adding Hopgood, and I even have a real positive thoughts about the Murchie signing as well. I'm really looking forward to him and seeing what he can do with us. And I feel like either of those two are going to be a replica of what happened with Papali'i when he first came to the club, where he was basically a no-name. No one really knew him for anything but his crazy hair. And he all of a sudden, within 2 years, was probably the best second row in the game. So I think Hopgood has that. I think Hopgood has a really, really bright future. And I'm pretty sure he's New South Welshman, so I think he's got Origin written all over him in the next couple of years for sure. So that is definitely a positive, and there's definitely, as I said, for mine, the only reason I say there could be a risk factor of missing the 8 is with the Moses decision. If Moses stays, then most of the spine stays. Dill Brown for mine is probably the best young talent in the game, and I think he continues to improve. And his running game we've seen last year just went to another level. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does this year. But I can, yeah, as I said, I can see both sides of it, and I'm just hoping as a fan, trying to be the professional away from it, but I can sort of see us around that sort of 4th to 6th, maybe 7th spot, and we should be a top 8 team. We should be a top 8 team. I think we need to hope to God Hodgson stays healthy, because we don't have much after Hodgson, and that's a big concern as well. Our hooker depth really is non-existent, I think, for now, because Mitch Rain has been around long enough, hasn't established himself as that first grade player. He was written sort of to be when he was at the Dragons, so that's a concern. But yeah, we'll see what we can do there.
Yeah,
But,
no, I echo what you say there. Yeah, no, I just honestly, I've just been thinking about that Hopwood so much, and I just wonder, like, if he's kind of your, and it just comes to me now, like when Johnny Bateman comes, and I know they're different players, but when Johnny Bateman came to the Raiders, he just added something a bit extra, and I just wonder, and it just was a bit unorthodox. It was a bit out of nowhere. It was unexpected. And I just wonder if, yeah, and it just brings the best out of everyone else as well. Yeah, he's he's some guy, like I said, that I want to watch. But yeah, like I just want to echo your thoughts too on Dylan Brown. He's special, and the shakiness of the Eels may be leaving in the past of a guy like Dylan Brown there, because he's as smooth as you can get, that man, and I think his confidence really rubs off on everyone, especially his half partner, Mitchell Moses. So yeah,
I echo that.
feeling very similar to yourself.
Yeah,